Welcome to a journey through one of the most legendary and ancient civilizations of humankind, ancient Egypt. Stretching along the mystical Nile River, where life blossomed amid arid deserts, the Egyptian civilization emerged over 5,000 years ago. With its first pharaoh, Narmer, Egypt unified upper and lower kingdoms, marking the dawn of a glorious era that lasted millennia. From the timeless pyramids and majestic temples to the mysterious hieroglyphic script, the Egyptians left an indelible mark on human history. At its golden peak during the New Kingdom, Egypt stood shoulder to shoulder with other great empires like the Hittites, Assyrians, and Mitanni. But like all great civilizations, it faced invasions, decline, and ultimately became a province of the Roman Empire. Egypt's prosperity wasn't just built on political power, but also on mastering its environment, regulating Nile floods, advancing agriculture, developing irrigation systems, mining minerals, building armies, and expanding trade. Under the rule of powerful pharaohs and supported by elite scribes and priests, Egypt formed a highly organized society deeply rooted in religion and scientific thought. From medicine, mathematics, engineering, and glassmaking to the world's first known ships, ancient Egypt wasn't just a land of mystery, but a cradle of groundbreaking innovations. In today's video, we'll travel back in time to uncover these wonders. From the grandeur of the Giza pyramids to the lives of powerful pharaohs, from epic battles to some of the first recorded peace treaties in human history. Before the pyramids rose under the desert sun, Egypt was a vastly different land, greener, wetter, and teeming with life. Thousands of years ago, during the pre-dynastic period, vast savannas stretched across Upper and Lower Egypt, home to herds of antelope, hippopotamuses, and flocks of migrating birds gathering along the Nile River. Around 5,500 BCE, Nile Valley tribes began to transform, cultivating crops, domesticating animals, crafting pottery, and making personal items such as combs, bracelets, and bead necklaces. The first vibrant culture emerged, the Badari culture, renowned for its fine pottery and stone tools. This marked a significant leap in human development. Following Badari was the Naqada culture, which evolved through three stages: Naqada, Tunun, and Three. The Naqada people imported precious stones from Ethiopia, crafted sharp blades, and began trading with the Near East, particularly with Byblos and the land of Canaan. Gradually, local chieftains unified smaller communities, extending their influence across the entire Nile Valley and laying the foundation for the world's first nation-state. At Hierakonpolis and Abydos, ancient centers of power, Naqada leaders developed a stratified, wealthy society and began using the earliest written symbols, the precursors of Egyptian hieroglyphs. They not only created a unique glazed pottery known as faience. In ancient times, as civilizations like Sumer and Elam were emerging in Mesopotamia, a significant chapter also began in Egypt. The early dynastic period, the era marking the formation of the first unified state in Egyptian history, according to the Egyptian priest Manetho in the 3rd century BCE, Egypt's first king was Menes, who was believed to have unified Upper and Lower Egypt around 3100 BCE. However, modern archaeological evidence suggests that this legendary figure may actually be Pharaoh Narmer, who is depicted on the famous Narmer palette wearing both the white and red crowns, symbols of the two lands united as one. After the unification, the first king of the dynasty chose Memphis as the capital. Strategically located between Upper and Lower Egypt, Memphis allowed the pharaoh to control the fertile Nile Delta and the key trade routes leading eastward, especially to the Levant. The growing power of the pharaohs is reflected in their elaborate tombs at Abydos, not just burial sites, but also temples for worshiping the deceased kings. These rulers were not merely monarchs. They were seen as divine beings, embodying order and sacred authority in the land. From this point forward, Egypt was no longer a collection of scattered tribes. It became a unified nation under a centralized monarchy. The pharaohs wielded absolute control over land, labor, and resources, laying a solid foundation for the dazzling rise of one of the most enduring and magnificent civilizations in human history. The Old Kingdom period, 2686 BC, 2181 BC, was a significant era in ancient Egyptian history, marked by remarkable advances in architecture, art, and technology. These developments were largely driven by the growth of agriculture, which laid the foundation for a stable and efficient central government. During this period, monumental structures such as the Pyramids of Giza and the Great Sphinx were built, showcasing the grandeur of ancient Egypt. Under the leadership of the vizier, state officials collected taxes, implemented irrigation projects to boost crop yields, and mobilized farmers to work on large-scale construction projects. A judicial system was also established to maintain peace and order in society. However, alongside the rise of the central government, a new class of educated officials and landowners began to emerge. Pharaohs granted land to local temples and religious institutions to ensure they could maintain worship after their death. Over time, though, this fragmentation gradually weakened the economic power of the pharaohs, leading to a slow decline in their authority over the course of 5 centuries. As the power of the pharaohs diminished, regional governors known as nomarchs began to challenge the central authority. Additionally, around the middle of the 22nd century BC, Egypt faced a severe drought, leading to widespread famine and conflict that lasted for 140 years. These factors contributed to what is known as the First Intermediate Period, a challenging phase in the history of ancient Egypt. After centuries of prosperity under the pharaohs of the Old Kingdom, ancient Egypt entered a period of great upheaval. When the central government collapsed around 2181 BCE, the nation lost its main pillar of economic and social stability. Without guidance from the pharaoh, regional governors, once the eyes and ears of the court, were left to manage crises on their own. Famine, food shortages, and power struggles broke out across the land. Small-scale civil wars erupted between regions, turning Egypt into a fragmented chaos. Yet in the midst of darkness, something unexpected emerged. Local officials, no longer paying tribute to the pharaoh, began using their autonomy to develop distinct cultures and economies. Independent resource management brought prosperity, seen in grander tombs, and increased luxury across all social classes. No longer bound by loyalty to the throne, local lords began fiercely competing for power. By around 2160 BCE, Egypt was clearly divided. The kings of Heracleopolis ruled Lower Egypt, while the Intef family from Thebes held Upper Egypt. With two powers in conflict, confrontation became inevitable. Finally, around 2055 BCE, under Nebhepetro Mentuhotep II, Thebes triumphed and reunified the divided lands. From the ashes of chaos, a new renaissance began, the dawn of the Middle Kingdom. The Middle Kingdom, 2134 BCE, 1690 BCE, marked a renaissance of ancient Egypt following the chaos of the First Intermediate Period. Under the pharaohs of the Middle Kingdom, Egypt regained prosperity, stability, and saw flourishing arts, literature, and monumental architecture. Mentuhotep II unified the nation from Thebes, but under Amenemhat I of the 12th dynasty, the capital moved to Ichitawi. The pharaohs launched land reclamation and irrigation projects to boost agricultural productivity. They also conducted military campaigns to reconquer Nubia and control its quarries and gold mines. A defensive structure called the Walls of the Ruler was built in the eastern delta to repel invasions. Under Amenemhat III, art and sculpture reached new levels of refinement with intricate personal details. However, overexploitation and severe Nile flooding gradually led to an economic downturn. Later, Canaanite settlers in the delta gradually took power, known as the Hyksos. Around 1785 BCE, the power of the Middle Kingdom pharaohs began to wane. In the city of Avaris, Asian settlers rose and took control of the eastern delta. The Hyksos, also known as foreign kings, modeled their rule after the Egyptian system. They proclaimed themselves as pharaohs and adopted many Egyptian cultural elements. The Hyksos introduced new weapons such as chariots and composite bows. Meanwhile, the Egyptian pharaohs retreated south to Thebes. Egypt was squeezed between two forces, the Hyksos in the north and the Kushites in the south. After years of silent preparation, the Theban pharaohs began to rise. A war lasting over 30 years began. Pharaohs Seqenenre-Tao II and Kamose defeated the Nubians. But only under Imosforshipert, Kamose's successor, did Egypt finally defeat the Hyksos. After this victory, the military became the top priority in the new kingdom.